Welcome everybody here tonight to the public hearing tonight at 7. And we're going to pick up on the hearing, and Mrs. Lane's going to do her thing. And Jess, do you want to say anything more? Are you
Thanks,
good?
Mr. Callahan. Nope, you're doing a great job.
Okay, thank you. How you doing, Miss Lane? Have you got dinner? Did you get dinner?
Well, I had a snack, so I'm great.
Okay, good. So, all right. Well, let Madam Secretary.
PowerPoint on.
Yep.
You don't see. Okay, call upstairs.
Yep. Madam Secretary, would you please read for the public hearing the Bill 1473? Yeah, 1473 in the record, please.
Bill number 1473, an act to establish the 2021-2022 annual budget and appropriation ordinance.
Okay, thanks a lot. Ms. Lane, I'm going to turn it over to you and Mr. Stamp. I think you got a presentation and PowerPoints for us, so I'll let you take it from here. You do such a great job.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, County Council and members of the audience. This is a public hearing on Bill number 1473, the fiscal 2022 annual budget and appropriation ordinance. The fiscal 2022 proposed general fund budget is $112,535,000. The current fiscal 21 budget is $96,550,000. So go to the next slide. This is a quick overview of the proposed general fund budget. The County Council received funding requests for operating and capital items of just over $119 million, which is $22.5 million more than the current budget. Now, the fiscal 22 budget is just over $112 million, which is almost $16 million, or 16.56% more than the current fiscal 21 budget. And while this is a large increase of almost $16 million, over $14 million of this is for transfer to the Capital Projects Fund of $10 million, and capital outlay, which is equipment, which is generally a one-time purchase, of $4 million. So while this is a really large increase, $14 million of this is really for one-time expenses and will not be ongoing, or do not have to be ongoing, in the budget. So this isn't a budget that is unsustainable. In order to fund this budget, we've used prior year funds of just over $20 million. The fiscal 22 budget for operating expenses is increasing by only 3.86%. So obviously, the majority of this increase is for the capital items. The budget does include the 1 cent increase to the property tax rate above what is allowed under the real property tax cap, as authorized by the voters of Talbot County in November of 2020. And public safety is a top priority in this budget. And I'll now turn it over to Mr. Stamp.
Mr. Stamp, you with us?
Thank you, Mrs. Lane. Thank you, Mr. Council President, members of the council. So the overarching management strategy of this year's budget is to ensure optimal service to our community while maintaining both transparency and frugality. And it centers on 3 areas: personnel, projects, and process. It works to drive retention of our existing workforce, and this includes not only county employees but also our volunteer fire rescue personnel, and helping them, and as well as the ability to recruit key members of our workforce. The second is projects, and the budget supports funding for core projects addressing identified needs, which are significant. And then the final is process, and that's really to evaluate all the county processes to ensure that we are optimally performing to provide customer service. Next slide, please. The budget, we believe, is practical, flexible, and visionary. So from a practical perspective, there's only a modest increase in the operations budget. These are recurring expenses every year, and we've kept that under 4%. The budget does address some core needs within the operations budget as approved by the council and signaled by the voters. It's flexible because we invest in capital projects. It's flexible because the investment in capital projects requires a secondary action by council to create enabling legislation for each project listed. So the monies that have been moved, the 10 million that have been moved into the critical infrastructure, the capital program can be determined whether it should be prioritized by council. So it's flexible. And then finally, visionary. It signals a recovery and it aids in both economic development and overdue core projects. And then finally, again, moving the $10 million into the capital improvement program addresses core pillars in our community. It invests in public safety and health projects, infrastructure projects, environment, education, and economic stability. And so Ms. Lane will go over several projects that will be addressed in this budget. So back to you, Ms. Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stamp. As I mentioned earlier, this is a modest increase in the operations budget of the county, and public safety is a priority, which is clearly outlined in the following items. The budget does include funding for the increased retirement expense associated with potentially joining the law enforcement officers pension system for the sheriff's office. This has been a request of sheriffs for many years and is a priority to keep us competitive for recruiting and retaining sheriff's deputies in the county. It also includes salary scale adjustments for 911 dispatchers, EMTs, paramedics, and correctional officers, also to address recruitment and retention issues. The budget adds 6 new positions, 4 additional positions for a 12-hour, 7-day 12 hours per day for 7 days per week for emergency services medical unit. This was started in the current fiscal year with part-time and overtime staffing. This will allow this function to be provided with full-time employees and will ensure the continuity of this unit always being available. This is primarily expected to serve the northern part of the county, which is underserved at this point. They have longer response times to the northern part of the county than other areas of the county. It also adds one legal assistant, for the position in the state's attorney's office and one administrative fiscal position for the Department of Public Works. The Talbot County Public Schools is funded at the same level as the current year, but this is $532,000 more than the state mandated maintenance of effort level of funding that the county is required to fund the public school system. And it does include a step increase for eligible full-time county employees. I mentioned that we had transferred $10 million for capital projects, and this slide shows all of the proposed capital projects in the fiscal 2022 budget. And some of these are smaller than others, but many of these have been discussed for a number of years. The first one is $2 million for land acquisition. This can be for any future county needs, but primarily we are focusing on public safety. We do need to find property for an EMS station in the north end of the county and perhaps look at relocating EMS stations in the future to provide better response times throughout the county. We also need to provide a land or site for the relocation of the sheriff's office. That office has to be vacated or has to be moved from the Talbot County Business Center in the very near future. We do have $5 million in the budget for the start of a public safety center. Again, this is for the sheriff's office, and perhaps other public safety departments will be housed in the same complex. We have $1.2 million for future EMS stations. They will need to be constructed, and as we relocate for better response times, we will start having funding available for that project. The other item is $2.3 million for broadband expansion. This is to match a grant that the Eastern Utilities has for broadband expansion into areas that are not served in the county. So this is to provide broadband in areas not already covered by Atlantic Broadband or Eastern Utilities or another cable provider or internet provider. And this has obviously become a forefront item in this climate that we are in now, where so many people need to be able to have adequate access to broadband. And this is a multi-year project. Highways and streets, we have 2 projects identified, Black Dog Alley and Airport Road. The total of these projects is $2.7 million. These are to provide enhancements to sections of the road. This won't complete all of the projects for the entire roads, but it will provide funding to start vehicle safety enhancements and upgrades to these roads. Again, these will be items that will be in future budgets as we try to continue the progress of expansion and safety on these roads. Under Parks and Recreation, Frederick Douglass Park on the Tuckahoe, we have included $200,000 for the next phase of that project, and $50,000 is included for a study on the Bill Burton Park. Under the Talbot County Public Schools, we are including $1.3 million for the roof replacement of the Easton High School roof. This is year 1 of this project. Again, this is a multi-year project. So this is the first half of this project. This will be included in probably included in an upcoming budget to finish the project for the rest of the roof. We are also including $3.5 million of capital projects fund reserves. And this is from the $10 million that we've transferred in. This will be available to continue to fund these projects in subsequent years or to provide funding for new projects. So our total capital projects budget is almost $19 million. And many of these projects have been discussed for a number of years, and we are finally in a position financially to move forward with them. Bill number 1473, which is the annual budget and appropriation ordinance, is eligible for vote on Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. Any written comments will be accepted by the County Council until Wednesday, May 5th, 2021 at noon. Email comments can be sent to publiccomment@talbotcountymd.gov, or comments can be mailed or dropped off at the County Council office in the south wing of the courthouse at 11 North Washington Street. Information on Bill number 1473 may be found at the county website at www.talbotcountymd.gov, and also under the Finance Office tab on that website, there is the budget ordinance, the budget workbook, and a 2-page budget summary available for review. And that concludes my presentation. Mr. Callahan, I believe you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lane. Appreciate that. Mr. Stamp. Angela, I think you've probably been looking for this one for 20 years. You know, it's your last one. So I can't thank you enough. You mean a lot to all of us, and your dedication to the community and the county and stuff is just off the charts. And we really, really appreciate everything you've done for us.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Mr. Stamp, appreciate your hard work getting it to this point. And, you know, what a great leader you are too. Thank you. Okay. I will now open the public hearing to Bill 1473. If you wish to provide some comments on Bill 1473, please provide your name. You will have 3 minutes to speak as an individual, and you have 5 minutes to speak for an organization. Mr. Dorham, we're going to go ahead and open the callers and to wish to speak about 1473. So let's get started on that.
Okay, if you're calling in on a phone and you want to speak, please press *3 on your phone, or if you're on a computer, please click on the raise hand button. Our first caller is a 301219 number.
Sure.
Please
Okay,
begin.
caller, appreciate you calling in tonight. So if you would give your name and where you're from, that would be great.
Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Walters, and I live in Cordova, right behind Chapel Elementary School. And I just wanted to voice my support on three things. Number one, in terms of Bill 1473, full support for any funding that's all-day pre-K. My daughter has benefited immensely from this, and most studies, if not all studies, show that the benefits of full-day pre-K first half are huge in terms of school readiness. Listening to virtual school most of this fall, I can assure you that there's a lot of kids here in the Chapel District that need this. Easton has had a pretty significant advantage for almost a decade with their grants, so I'd like to see that funding get opened. Any of the other funding that the school is asking for, as a taxpayer, I fully support that. And then since it got brought up and I didn't really know it was coming, I also want to throw full support behind that broadband grant as I watch the WebEx circle still going around after 17 minutes because I can't get on the WebEx because I don't have good internet access. Any questions about anything I've said? Cannot stress enough on the all-day pre-K.
Thank you, Ms. Walters. I really appreciate you spending and calling in and spending the time talking to us. So really appreciate you calling in. Next caller.
Okay, our next caller is a computer user, Casey Scott.
Okay.
Please begin.
Hey, Casey Scott, you can go ahead and talk. You're on.
All right, I think I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yep, you go ahead, Casey. Go ahead.
Hi there. So my name is Casey Scott. I live in Trapp, and my kids attend White Marsh Elementary School, and I'm also here to vouch for that full-day pre-K option. My son is 4 years old. We did opt to send him to pre-K this year, despite it likely going to be mostly virtual. I will say, being able to have that full day option, I've seen so much growth in him this year, not just with letter sounds and phonics, but also social and emotional development. I think that they've done a great job in really trying to catch these kids up with a lot of the school that they've missed. And I fully support any funding that we can continue to send to these more rural schools to make sure that, you know, our Trapp and Cordova counterparts can have the same benefits as our Easton Elementary counterparts.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Scott. I really appreciate you calling in and representing Trapp, and thanks for the call. Okay, next caller.
Okay, our next caller is a Connor Flaherty. And
I'm sorry?
Connor Flaherty, please begin.
Hi, my name is Connor Flaherty. I'm currently a freshman at Easton High School. My address is 8526 Colony Circle in Easton, Maryland. I'm very grateful for all the course selections available at Easton High School, and I'm extremely excited about the CNA Completer program scheduled for next school year. We are the only county on the Eastern Shore that does not have this program. The job market in Talbot County shows the demand for CNA specifically, and this program allows for licensing upon the graduation so that students can have these job opportunities directly after high school or a head start when entering college. Please consider fully funding the budget so we have the opportunity to have this valuable program in our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. I appreciate you calling in tonight. Thanks a lot.
Okay, currently, that is our last person requesting to speak. If you're interested in speaking, press *3 on your phone or the raise hand button on your computer. We do have Robert. Please begin.
Robert, do you have a last name? Robert, go ahead. Do you have a last name?
It's Forloney.
It's Robert Forloney.
Okay.
And I'm a resident in St. Michael's. I'm also the vice president of the Talbot County Free Library. I'm just calling to thank the county council on behalf of all the work that has done in the past for the library and to fully recommend that we fund the budget going forward with regards to the expansion in St. Michael's in particular. But in addition to that, a number of the other things that have been mentioned with regards to support for schools, pre-K, and also broadband is, I think, essentially important given the situation that we have today and in order to recuperate from COVID. So just thank you for your support. And again, I fully recommend fully funding this particular bill.
Thanks a lot for calling it, Mr. Forloney. I appreciate it, and appreciate your hard work down at the library too.
Thank you.
That is the last person we have requesting to speak.
Mr. Callahan, I do see that Dr. Griffith is with us this evening, as well as Ms. Deleanbotkin, and just wanted to recognize them if either of them wish to speak.
Yes, I think they do. Yes, that's what I was waiting for.
Jessica, did you say you could see Susan Deleanbotkin? She does want to speak.
Yep. Kelly,
Yes.
go ahead, you and Susan.
Susan, go ahead.
Thank you very much. This is Susan Deleanbotkin. Apparently this big storm down here in Oxford at the same time we tried to call in is causing a little disruption. So please, can you hear me all right?
Sure, yeah, we can hear you great. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, President Callahan, members of the
problem.
County Council, manager, staff, Mrs. Lane and staff. My name is Susan Deleanbotkin. I am here this evening as president of the Board of Education to thank you for all the work that you've done during these very difficult times. You've kept the county headed in the right direction, safe, growing, fiscally responsible. As we know, the collaborative partnership between the Talbot County Public Schools and the County Council has enabled us to provide a high-quality education for all of our children. We hope to maintain that relationship for the future prosperity of our county. In these most interesting of times, there have been some remarkable changes in Talbot County in the last year. Living in God's waiting room down here in Oxford, we are pleasantly surprised at the number of young families with children becoming full-time residents. Just in my square block, there are now 3 families with elementary school children, 3 with high school students, and 1 with a middle school child, where there were none 2 years ago. We have children playing tennis on the local courts, older kids playing basketball in between the pickleball players. All of these families are planning on sending their children to Talbot County Public Schools this fall. In addition, as a business owner of a primary care health practice, I will also mention that we have seen an unprecedented growth in new patients coming into the county. We now have a 160-person waiting list for our practice. A good percentage of these folks are younger with school-aged children. I chatted with the new full-timer to the county last week and listened to his complaints about the school system across the bridge. When I mentioned to Walter our graduation rate of 96%, our dropout rate of 1.6%, our open AP class policy, he was stunned. He questioned what our graduates do after high school, and again was highly appreciative that our students get accepted to the best colleges in the country and the state, or go on into certificate in trades or technology. And many, thank goodness, return to Talbot County to work and raise their families. Having spent every Friday last spring delivering weekend meals to our students' families, I can tell you this school system goes over and above for our students and families. We provide education, nutrition, and family support. Talbot County Schools organized an amazing system of internet accessibility all throughout the county, partnering with our 1,000 community partners to see that each student had an electronic device to connect to their classes. While not perfect, we did get it to work. If internet was spotty, hotspots were arranged. If I mentioned a child on my route was having problems, by the next week, Dr. Griffith's team had reached out, identified the issue, and put a solution in place. And we provide breakfast and lunch to any child, weekend meals to families on top of that. As we know, the electronic internet interaction, and the meals continue. I am recounting this because we have a jewel of an education system. Superintendent Griffin and her staff and faculty work diligently to structure a system based on priorities, derived from shared input from the community, parents, students, teachers, administrators. Our system works on the best practices model, and this past year has perfected the pivot, switching gears frequently to accommodate the COVID crisis while supporting, developing, and improving the educational services for our students. Our fiscal year 22 budget reflects the priorities needed for a quality education for our students. Earlier today, Dr. Griffith reviewed the decreases to the FY22 budget brought about by cost savings and grants to cut $2 million. That's right, $2 million was cut from our earlier budget request. I am strongly advocating for you to accept or even increase this budget. This is an investment in the future of Talbot County, and that future is now. We have to offer competitive salaries and benefits, just like we do for our first responders and our public safety officers. We have to maintain lower class sizes. We have to update curriculum and instructional materials. We have to increase security measures. We have to do these things just to stay up with other mid-shore counties. I just ask you to invest with Talbot County Schools for the future, and please fund the public school budget for this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Mrs. Deleanbotkin. I appreciate everything. That was great.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan.
Yeah. And Dr. Griffith, would you like to comment before you leave?
Oh, I just thank you all for your support and really appreciate the opportunity for people to speak, even though we're under these circumstances. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for all you guys do. And Kelly, thank you for this afternoon having such a great comments too. Appreciate it. Mr. Durham, do we have anybody else online?
We have no other callers requesting to speak.
Okay, so we're going to be on for a few more minutes. So if somebody pops on, just let me know. Okay, just a reminder, the public hearing. Okay, written comments will be accepted by the county council until Wednesday the 5th, which would be tomorrow at noon. We will keep accepting them. You can email the comments, and you can send them to public comments at talbotcountymd.gov. The public hearing on Bill 1473 is concluded. And being that is said, council, I'm just going to open it up for a quick council comment for everybody. Mr. Vice President. Mr. Vice President Pete. Mr. Lesher.
Sorry, I thought I was speaking there, and
hey, no problem. No problem.
I just wanted to thank the members of the public for their testimony under these trying circumstances. We had really hoped to be able to do an in-person hearing on advice from the county health officer. We backed away from that initial plan, and I'm sure that we have a smaller audience, and as a consequence of that, I'm sure many others are listening besides those who have chosen to speak. But I do thank those who went to the extra effort to be able to testify this evening. We heard some important things this evening. I hope that we will take those into consideration. I will say that as we heard from Finance Director Angela Lane at the beginning, the broadband project is funded. That is in the budget. That's part of our capital budget for this year. The library, for the most part, is funded as requested. There are questions outstanding about the school's budget, and we heard some testimony about that. But there is substantial support, and as in the opening remarks, we heard this budget has prioritized, as we committed, public safety. That we've taken advantage of what the voters have allowed us under the revised property tax cap and allocated those funds toward improvements in public safety, including the sheriff's office, particularly for recruitment and retention there, as well as emergency services, the addition of that additional ambulance unit, both the staffing and the equipment for that. These are important priorities, and I'm looking forward to continue to work with this council to move these priorities forward.
Thank you, Mr. Lesher. I appreciate it. Mr. Pack.
Yes, Mr. Callahan, thank you very much. I have a few things I want to touch on. I want to start by first addressing Ms. Lane personally. It's been many years working with Angela and her team over at the Office of Finance through many budgets, some very strenuous and some very relaxed. I will say that this budget was probably one of the more amenable budgets to processes that I've had the pleasure to go through. And that's partly due to her preparation and presentation of the materials and working very closely with Mr. Stamp in the administration office, as well as with the department heads, to make sure that we have a real needs budget that are addressing those priorities here in Talbot County. I've been saying, many of us have been saying for many, many years that the day was going to come when these capital expenditures would have to be met, and that day is here. And as Ms. Lane pointed out, the $18.5 million in capital funding, although they don't continue eating as those operational costs do, there are still items that we desperately need to address here in the county to make sure buildings are safe, to make sure we have adequate space for our public safety officers and officials, and to make sure our roads are safe for our citizens to travel upon. So those things that she highlighted in her budget review were items that she mentioned that this council and prior councils have been mentioning for many, many years that we were going to have to address. I do want to thank the citizens of Talbot County for their vote in November for allowing the modest increase in the property tax to allow us to address these capital expenditures, as well as some operational items that we had to also take care of as well. So to Ms. Lane, we do know this is her final budget. As much as I tried to persuade her to stay, I think she has much deserved to go off and enjoy her vacation, her retirement, I should say. And Ms. Lane, I wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors. I also want to just take a moment to reflect upon the work that has been done dealing with the COVID effort here in Talbot County. There are many individuals I can name, and I'm not going to try to name everyone because I know I'm going to forget someone. But starting with the superintendent, Griffith, and her team, feeding our youth, feeding our students, making sure that through the school year and through the summer, even last summer, that our students were fed and that basic human need of food was met. And they have done a yeoman's job at making sure and coordinating that food distribution effort, along with Ms. Jan Willis, who stepped in to work with our emergency operations team to address those food insecure communities in Talbot County. I also want to address Ms. Nancy Andrew in her part that she played as our COVID coordinator, and then stepping down from that position, but still keeping her hand in the mist, chairing our COVID vaccine equity task force to make sure that all citizens in Talbot County, regardless of race or population area that they live in, can have the vaccine. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of those individuals. Again, the list is too long for me to go through everyone, but I do want to say thank you to the full team that met each Wednesday and put together what I felt was a an outstanding effort to keep the citizens of Talbot County safe. Mr. Stamp, I want to thank you for your effort. I know this was your, well, I wouldn't say your first budget, but your first official budget as county manager, and working with Ms. Lane and her team, as well as with the department heads. And you had you stepped into a landmine, not just with COVID, but also with department heads who were retiring and moving on, and having to work to get those positions filled. And we're still working to do that. So I just want to also highlight you on all your efforts thus far, and also Ms. Morris and Ms. Moran working alongside you each and every day. I do want to pass on my condolences as well to the Cox family. We did hear early this week that Kelly Cox had passed away. Kelly was a beloved resident here in Talbot County in the Bay 100 area. She had done some marvelous work down on Tillman Island to bring a school down there that would help educate students on marine life, and just a person who was full of life, full of energy, and dedicated and committed to her community. Was very saddened to hear about Kelly's passing, and just wanted to pass on my condolences to her family. We also heard this evening that Oxford lost one of their former councilwomen, that in Carol Abazidi. Carolyn was a great citizen down in Oxford. She served them well over the years, had the pleasure to work with her through many years of interaction from the county and the municipal level, and heard of her passing earlier today, and just wanted to extend my condolences to the Oxford community and to her family as well. Mother's Day is coming up on Sunday, and wanted to say to all the mothers who are listening, Happy Mother's Day, and to the fathers and to the family. Go out and treat your mothers well. They deserve it, and show them the love that they need. So with that, I think the budget presentation was very well done. Thanks for all those citizens. I know there weren't many, but thanks for those citizens who took the time out to call and to share their opinion with this council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pack. There were some kind words there. You did a great job, and I really appreciate those comments. Mr. DeVillio.
So, sure, thank you. There's really just, when I look at this budget, there's three things that really jump out at me. And I think we're doing the right steps to address some big concerns that have been going on. So thinking about the people, we have some great staff in many different departments, whether it be the detention center, the sheriff's department, taking care of all the buildings that we have. There's a lot of great employees that we have, and there's nothing more expensive for staffing than bad employees who cause good employees to leave, and then you're replacing multiple. And hiring and training is very expensive. We've heard that over and over again from the sheriff's department and from EMTs, and we know that there's some things that will make their lives much better through benefits and packages, and we're addressing those. And I'm glad that will reduce hiring. It will keep employees here longer, which will reduce the cost and the overhead, but will also just make Talbot County a better place to work, which in turn is a better place to live. When I look at the places that were the buildings that we're looking at addressing and the projects, I think we're being very strategic with the movement with it. We're looking at projects that we've had on the books for a long time. The sheriff's department, where is it going to go? And a lot of these are very expensive. We've looked at trying to combine things. I think we've done a really good job of looking at the different buildings, the different properties around, and what we have already, and trying to figure out the most efficient way to get those going. And then lastly, looking at trying to use technology and not to replace individuals, but make individuals' lives better, and improve processes to make their work life easier, and to just, again, make Talbot County a great place to work and a great place to live. None of that comes cheap. And to Mr. Pack's words, some of this keeps eating, but thankfully the majority of these large projects that we're looking at, we've been focused on saving for a while. And it does still require the capital enabling legislation, which is always the nice safety net to make sure that we are making good decisions. We're planning right now, and then we're going to ramp up with that legislation in the future as those projects, those locations get found. So I thank this council for working collectively to come up to solve a lot of challenges and working within the tight financial constraints that we have. And all of that could not be accomplished without the wonderful work of Mrs. Lane and the knowledge and the efficiency that she brings to that department will never be matched. She will greatly be missed. I hope she'll stay around and we'll be able to consult with her and use her as need be, because there's nobody who knows it better or who can handle it better. She's leaving big shoes to fill. So Mrs. Lane, from the very beginning of me coming on, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to educate me on the budget. Take the phone calls when I'm in a frantic mess, worried about how are we going to afford this? How's this going to work? And you always know. And I greatly appreciate having great people like that in there supporting us. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy retirement.
Thank you, Mr. DeVillo, for those kind words. I appreciate it. Mrs. Price, are you with us?
I am with you.
Okay.
And this is the first time I can remember where council comments is longer than the public hearing. I don't think I've ever had it, but obviously that's because of the virtual nature. I did turn on the TV and we have been preempted by the Easton Town Council. So I am concerned that, it was just a very short public hearing, that we were not on TV tonight. So we need to make sure that we get, video out there. And for those of you who are listening, who most people watch, maybe they watch on TV, hopefully that MCTV will play it again. I don't need to repeat my colleagues. I agree with everything that they've said, which is a wonderful thing. It is a very, very scary high number on the budget. But again, some of it is capital things and capital outlay items. The operating budget isn't that much higher. But it is still amazing to me that my first year on the council, it was in the mid $60 million range, and now we're well over $100 million. And I never thought I would see that over the course of a decade. But thank you to everybody. Just echo everything that my colleagues said, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and I'm sure we'll all have a little bit more to say. So thank you very much for tuning in this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Price, and I'll wrap things up too. Council, it's been a pleasure working with you tonight. We've done a lot of things, said a lot of nice things, and I echo everything that you guys have said tonight. Angela, once again, you have been definitely a big, a big part of this for the 20 years, and you touched the lives of a lot of people and touched the lives of a lot of council ladies and council men and taught us a lot. And you've taught me a lot. With the constant yield, I don't know if you would be able to even comprehend pulling you out of retirement and teaching me what that's all about. So, we can't thank you enough for all the hard work you've done and leadership that you gave council. It's such an important position, and we really love everything you've done and taught us. Mr. Stamp, like I think Mr. Pack said, one of your first official budgets, and you led in your leadership, and you've done such a great job. And I really appreciate that we did get a little break on some of the tax stuff, and the voters allowed us to gain a little bit more money, and which helps a lot, which gives us an opportunity to think about safety first. And that's what we've done. And just like Mr. Pack said, we've got a big budget for capital projects. And since I've been here, we haven't been able to have that luxury to start thinking about, safety projects, EMS, the correctional facilities and sheriff's department, stuff like that. And it's so important now that we are able to concentrate a little bit about on that. And I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to be, my first year as president here. Mr. Pack is right. When me and Mr. Stamp stepped in this position and we've got a pandemic and we have leadership roles that we've had to endure, it's been tough. But, with the leadership of this council, and I really truly mean this, the leadership of this council, and look, sometimes we battle it out, but at the end of the day, we're there for each other, and we're going to be hiring great people, and the community should be happy of their leadership. And I'm happy to be one of the leaders and part of this, and I'm very blessed and very honored to be here to be part of it. And for an example, I want to extend my hand out to Cassandra last Friday with the excellent summit she did for the breakfast for economical development. Economical development around here is huge and a big revenue driver of this county. And I'm so proud to be part of it. Cassandra is sort of the backbone of that, and she does such a great job. And I just wanted to, commend her for that. And the other side of this is, like we said, Kelly Coxon down in Oxford, and that's and I want to do a heartfelt out for the Coxon family. So anything that we can do, we'd be glad to help you with. And I didn't know the other council lady from Oxford that Mr. Pack mentioned, but same here. Give us condolences to her family in Oxford. So to wrap all that up, it's been a heartfelt budget. It's been great dealing with council. We've pulled it off. It was, to me, one of the easier budgets put together with council and working together, because it was really hard to believe that we all really did it all well together. And I believe Mrs. Price is going to pass this, So that's really, that's fact. That's awesome. And I'm proud of her for thinking that, and all that. So, but anyway, Mr. Lesher, would you mind closing the evening for us and tell us what's going on next?
Yes, indeed. The county council's next.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lesher. Mr. President, I was wondering if you would indulge Ms. Lane just to address council, as this is her final budget.
Oh, sure.
If that would be okay.
Absolutely. I'll be glad to.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be glad to. Thank you, Mr. Pack. Mrs. Lane, would you like to say a few things?
Well, thank you very much for all the kind words. I do appreciate it. As you all know, I do love budget and I love audit. They're my two favorite parts of my job. So I really do. I do love this part of my job, and it's been a real pleasure to work with you all on this budget. And I do think we're really doing a lot of great things. I think transferring the money to the Capital Projects Fund is wonderful. We really need to shore up that fund to get these projects done, and I'm thrilled that that's included in this budget. We have the reserves, and I know it is sometimes difficult to move money out of savings to spend on capital projects. It's hard in my personal life, so I know it's hard, here. But I think it is really the right thing to do. But I really do thank you for all the kind words. I will miss doing budget, to be honest. I'm not sure what I will do next February and March, but
hopefully you're somewhere warm.
That would be nice. But thank you so much. And I have loved working with all of you and all of the amazing employees at Talbot County. We do have great staff. And I do have to give a shout out to my wonderful staff in the finance office. I am very fortunate to have such a wonderful, wonderful team behind me. And the next person will be very lucky.
Thank you, Ms. Lane. I appreciate that. Yep, for those kind words. We're going to miss you, that's for sure. So, anything else, council? Any other comments before Mr. Lesher puts things to bed here for us? Okay, Mr. Lesher.
All right, my thanks to Corey for that catch there.
Thank you.
The County Council's next meeting will be held on Tuesday, May 11th, beginning at 6:00 p.m. The council will be convening in open session at 3:00 for a work session on final budget deliberations in association with Bill number 1473, and then adjourn into closed session to discuss real estate, legal, and personnel matters as listed on the statement for closing that meeting. Therefore, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting and reconvene as noted?
So moved.
Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pat?
Aye, good night.
Good night, council. Appreciate the good work.